Hello, good evening. First of all, I'm very grateful to be here in Athens, and thank you for thanks to the organizers for having me here. I learned that we have one problem in common, and it is the crisis, and that's lack of funds, not only on the state, but also on the municipal level. So I'm here to share my experience, or the experience of me and my team, as to how to transform a city and bring great projects to life, basically without any funds of the municipality, and without the EU grants either. So I hope you'll find some of this useful for your municipality or other experience. So how to improve the public services in times of budgetary crisis. We're not speaking here about just maintaining the public services, but having the ambition to actually improve them, because I believe that we should have the ambition all the time. So this is a little look on our city district. We are one of the 17 city districts in Bratislava, but we are obviously the central one and one of the 4 biggest ones. We have the highest rate of inhabitants in post-productive age in our country, which puts tremendous pressure on our services, on the quality of our services, and determines what kind of special services we should provide to our citizens. It is obviously, we are the center of the commercial, political, and cultural life in our country, and a tourist destination. And of course, that means that we don't serve only to the inhabitants of our city district, but the whole city, the whole country, and obviously the whole world, because we have to serve to everyone who comes into our town. Well, you would probably say that that is the price of being the center of the capital, if we would get the funds for it, for this extra function that we have to, for these extra services that we have to provide. For instance, the entire income for tourism goes to the capital city and not to the city district. So just a little example of that. So in the times like this, when we're fighting the budgetary crisis, this is an additional burden for us that we have to fight with. So another struggle that we have is that as Bratislava region, and of course that influences us as well, we have very limited access to non-budgetary funds. We are eligible to 2 EU grants out of all, and almost no funds from the NGOs, because they're mostly directed to NGOs or to informal groups of people. And also they're limited to very small sums, so that would create a demand of such a co-financing from our side that it makes the persuasion of these projects impossible. So we have to find other ways how to provide these services. Last but not least, even if there are grants of sums of maybe a couple of tens of thousands of euros, they're directed to cultural events and not infrastructural projects, which is what we need the most in these times. So this is the beginning. This is how we found the city district when we came to it in 2010. It was upside down. What does that mean? So we were fighting with a loss of 4 million euros in the budget. So the budget on the income side was exaggerated. It was partly by the fault of our predecessors of having high hopes, but partly by the actual economic growth. What was the biggest problem was that the golden eggs of the city district, the assets that could generate the most income, were sold in the last 10 years. So that was public companies, palaces on the main square and the pedestrian zone. Everything was sold, so there was almost nothing out of except taxes that could generate the income and even up for the loss. Of course, non-terminable, unprofitable contracts, ongoing lawsuits for large sums, that would create such a budgetary situation that we would struggle to provide basic services, like pay the salaries of the teachers, etc. and everything else was, we wouldn't be able to provide any other services and do the maintenance of our premises and so on. Of course, an army of complainers, that means the people that are coming to our office with a problem that's been unsolved by the municipality for 3 years or more. I was solving problems for the people that they've been fighting with for 12 years. And the solution ended up to be quite simple in many cases. What is typical for our people is that, except of having seniors, a lot of seniors in our city district, we have a lot of, many of our inhabitants are think tanks, celebrities, and intellectuals. So this group of people is typical, is very demanding and does not take excuses. They want action, they want performance from us. They don't care about competence. One of our problems is the division of competencies between the capital city and the city districts. It's very confusing to most of people, and in the end, they don't care about it. They just want the performance from either us or the capital city. They just don't care. Neither they care that the newly elected mayor inherited the problems and had no chance to influence them when they started or when they were created. So, well, this looks like a couple of minutes of constant complaining, but this is not what we're here for. So the question is, what can a city do in such a situation? In one word or in one expression, invite the community. Don't pretend that, you know, we cannot be helped. The first thing is, the easy way is to dig deep into your own resources and find out whether there really is not something in your possession, in your competence that you can do without the external help. And later on I will show you a couple of examples how this can happen. And what such, let's say, due diligence, what results it can bring. And if there are no own resources, then look around you and don't be ashamed to ask for help and to invite the people, your own people, to participate on the change. Don't just tell them that you don't have the money and that means that you're not going to do anything. So a good example of the first principle is Pistori Palace, because I thought it would be the best maybe to show it, to show you how we work on examples. It is a palace with a great history, with a very controversial history, being the Nazi embassy during the war, having the Jewish people hiding there actually at the same time, and later on a Lenin's museum, and then the Museum of Slovak Expatriates. So its history is very absorbing. Anyway, we would never have had the 4 million euro for its renovation. We think, or we know partly, that it was planned, it was run down on purpose in order to be sold to a bank or some other commercial enterprise like that, just arguing that the city district doesn't have the money and will never raise the money for the renovation. So we had this decision to make, and of course we decided that we are going to resurrect it little by little, trying to find partners that can help us to make this into a cultural community center. Well, this is the beginning. This is how we found it. This was the garden that we're using now for cultural events. And this change happened only over a couple of months, and it just got some volunteers and collaborating NGOs. There were 200 tons of waste eliminated from this space by the volunteers before we could start with the soft works, let's say. The first event that the palace hosted was the Design Weekend, which is a chain of the international exhibitions of contemporary art and design. And as the title says, the Design Weekend, actually the title on the poster says, Design Weekend Bratislava opens the Pistori Palace. It was the first event, the first opportunity to open the palace to the public after maybe 15 years. So this is 6 months later. just today, at this time, we're having a grand opening of a big exhibition of French and Slovak international contemporary art with the cooperation with Paris and with the French embassy. So it's happening without me at the moment, although it's my project. This is 2012, where we had, among other events, our Christmas party of our administration in the office. So you can see that the palace is fully used now, and it's used by, we have top-notch events there going on. We have embassy workshops and conferences. We have, it's an NGO hub, an artist hub. We're renting some of the offices to the NGOs for free or just for the electricity. We have a theater for the homeless people and so on. So it's, the palace is fully active, and it cost us precisely nothing. Then probably the simplest case of looking into your own resources, the senior cab. As you know, we have the highest rate of the seniors, and we have many of them have problems with mobility, but at the same time they're very intellectual. So beside of having problem of going to doctor or hospital, they would like to go to cultural events as well, and they can't. They're often imprisoned in their own homes. Well, there was this dream of having a senior cab for the last 10 years, but somehow the very simple was made complicated. I cannot understand why. But instead of waiting for some European funds and you know, having dreams like that, we used our own van that was standing in the yard of the administration, and we looked into whether our drivers really are so busy that one of them wouldn't be able to take this job. By the way, we were forced to make a slim, you know, to terminate our working relationship with some people, and we were facing whether we really need 4 drivers or whether we have to, you know, let some of them go. So instead of letting them go, or especially one of them, we found him this new occupation that he's been performing excellently. This service was in 2012 nominated by the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs as the Social Act of the Year. It costs nothing. Well, to be exact, it costs 50 euros per month in all. So the second principle that we use is, if we don't have own resources, is that we combine them. There is a street. It looked like this 2 weeks ago. It's 2 square kilometers, and there was nothing done with it for 12 years, and the problem became really huge after each winter. The costs were estimated for 140,000 euros for the renovation. We cannot raise this in the next 10 years. That I know for sure. So the most persistent question is not how we are able to acquire this sum, but how to make it affordable. What can we do in order to make it affordable, to make this sum go down? So we united people from the area, entrepreneurs, inhabitants, architects that are having their offices there, all frustrated by the street condition, and each of us brought something different to the project. The architects have worked on a voluntary basis. Companies have provided us with the materials for the renovation for free. And like this, we reached the sum of 38,000 euros. And as you could discover also in the magazines now, the renovation began 2 weeks ago, and we're in the process of the renovation now. We expect it to end in October this year. Another project of ours that we believe that is making us very enthusiastic is the new park in the capital. In the past 20 years, parks were sold to developers very often for construction. So there are two things which are very unlikely in Bratislava that people are very unlikely to believe that would happen. A new park and a new cinema. Well, we have both. So we found this unused, making the thorough due diligence I was mentioning a while before. We found this 5,000 square meters unused plot. Well, estimated cost for revitalization, 200,000 euros. We found, again, partners that are experts in the fields that we need in order to revitalize this park. And we created a brand, the Green Community. It was just maybe a month ago. That is helping us significantly. We are introducing 8 low-cost, innovative student projects for the park revitalization next week to the public. And we are starting with the works right away because besides of having the expert work from the architects and everyone else free of charge, we have found for the rest of the funds we need a financial partner, Heineken, that is specializing in environmental projects and that will be a long-term partner with us for this park. This is the beginning again. This is after few works of the volunteers. This is one of the project examples. I, of course, didn't want to bring them all here. So in about a year from now, we will have a new park in the center of the capital. This is another principle, something that we just had to do. And as I mentioned, we did it through a thorough due diligence, where we found premises that were sort of forgotten or that the municipality thought cannot be used, cannot be marketed in any way. Well, we are receiving income for each and every one of these activities. So short-term rentals for all kinds of purposes, public space for TV commercial shooting, creating new advertising spaces for commercial use, and for example, such extremes as creating a photo studio, just using the existing capacities. Of course, our very popular platforms. To make it very brief, we use basically 2 types of platforms. One are the ones that actually materialize the project, so they bring the value, they contribute in different ways, either financially, materially, or by volunteers, or by giving their expert opinion and so on. So those I basically named and described 2 of them already. And the other type are communication platforms, let's call them, where you invite people from the neighborhood, where you making in the neighborhood where you are planning to make a big change. You cannot do it without them, because you would get the people panicking, and you get the activists, you get negative civic activism right away. So if you invite the people to be a part in the decision making, that's when they will support you in the final decision that you will take, and they will support your project also to their friends, to their family, and so on. So 2 such examples are the Shavko Alliance and Medical Garden. The Shavko is a square that we acquired that we tried to acquire and acquired finally as a dead square, because our predecessor just didn't mean to do anything about it because of, again, lack of funds. So in the start we created this working platform where we invited the NGOs, the commercial partners, the volunteers, and the activists. And further on, we continued with this with the communication. We sent over 1,000 questionnaires to the letterboxes of the people living in the neighborhood directly. And based on the reaction, well, of course, we asked them what they want to, we provided them with options, what we could do, what could happen in the square. And we invited them into this decision making. We asked them whether they want to participate in it and whether they want to volunteer with the square. So based on the response, we created this communication group, and no important decision is made without the prior discussion and assent of this group, which in the beginning there was a big fear that we're going to destroy the park, that we will build some kind of construction on it, and that was because there was no prior communication about what we want to do. So this is not the case now, and we're collaborating with the people. So it is a tool to inform the public and ensure their support for your projects. This is one of the changes, one of the projects that we have done with the non-governmental organization. That was one of the first things that we did, besides of a new playground and the cleaning through volunteers. So here we had a cultural program during the entire summer for the young. So Medi Garden is a garden which it's a huge park which is in permanent need of funds. So struggling to pay the basic costs, we would have never been able to introduce new features to it. So partnering with celebrities, with NGOs, and visiting a company that having a big company that has a seat nearby, whether they want to patronage this garden and whether they want to be our long-term partner in this project. They happen to be our strategic partner right now, and thanks to this partnership, in just 1.5 years, we're having 2 brand new playgrounds, a reading garden, a space for exhibitions, a playhouse. We will soon have, you will see the little house, which is a community center in this garden. 2 major cultural events visited by 10,000 people per day, and a senior park, tea house, and maybe I have forgotten something. So we were able to provide the public with these services without assent from our side. So we did have one problem though during this project, and that was the communication thing, which is when we start to communicate with the people. When we introduced the first children's park, the first playground, we thought that people would be happy. Well, half of them were, the other half was not. So in the second round, we invited all the complainers to participate in the selection. We invited the PR agency of our sponsor and the sponsor, of course. We evaluated the proposals of all the companies, both local and international, that we were aware that would be producing playgrounds. And then we went to the voting in the schools, and we got over 1,600 votes of the pupils, teachers, and parents, based on which we evaluated how will the round 2 of this kids park look like. Since then, there was no single complaint. It seemed that everyone's happy. So this is how it looked in the beginning. This is round 2. This is round 1, sorry. And this is round 2. Again, very little contribution from our side. Then, as I already mentioned the house, which is again something that was in our possession that apparently until now no one seemed to care about or use in any way. And basically, this is the current status, and this shall be the status at the end of the year. And basically, what we did is that we came up with the idea. we invited the NGOs to elaborate the idea and to find people that can help them to materialize this idea and to make this happen. This is, of course, not only the building and a bistro, but it's various services for the mothers with children, and it's connected to the playground as well, an all-year cultural program that is family-oriented. So, what we are trying to do, what really helps us in the everyday life, basically, is our long-term partners. They really are making all of this possible, and we try to provide them with the relevant value. That is very important. So going behind the sponsor logo is trying to help the sponsors as much as we can, trying to learn about their needs, trying to see what we can do for them, and how we can do something for them and help them. For example, the SMS entry of the car in the pedestrian zone, they were really, the companies were really struggling with the bureaucratization of needing to go to the office and file for various applications. Well, I asked them whether whether an SMS system that would be ad hoc and could allow the cars to enter the pedestrian zone in an operational way would be a help. And this is what is happening in about a week from now, and it will, according to them, be an amazing help and will rid them of a great burden. Of course, we have to keep in mind their initial motivation to join the project, to make them interested into further collaboration with us. One of such partnerships is Dell Loves the Old Town, where in brief we combine, as the first line says, more than volunteers painting benches, which we do on a regular basis. Combines financial sponsoring, volunteerism, but also we have the most talented managers of Dell helping us to pursue our projects, because we wouldn't have the personal capacity for it, and especially due to the slim that we had to make as a municipality. So here are examples of some of the projects that we are cooperating with them on, where we are working together with their most talented managers. And of course, volunteers are helping us on a permanent basis also in cleaning our 4 public places where we simply didn't have the funds anymore. So otherwise, we wouldn't be able to clean them. So they're being a great asset to us. So this is the bottom line of it. To see, it's always pleasant to look and evaluate not how much money we saved, because we wouldn't have invested it because we don't have it, but what money was saved in a way from the municipality, and we made these changes in this project happen regardless. So these are just 2 examples. So this is a little invitation. If you find any of this inspiring, I'll be glad to help you and provide you with more details. Thank you very much.